Hello, CCSD. This is Jennifer Bias, and this video is to give you a quick overview regarding what principals and assistant principals need to know regarding access testing for 2024. Some of the first things that you need to do are important dates. The first one is going to be January 8th. This is when we provide our district level access testing training for all of our ML teachers. Colleen Comeback is going to provide this training for us, and it is a mandatory training. So please make sure that you excuse teachers from their caseloads to attend either the morning or the afternoon session. On January 16th, that's when the testing schedule will be due to our offices for review. January 22nd is when the window opens, and March 8th is when the access window closes. What is the Access Assessment Test? Well, the Access Assessment Test is a test that really checks and monitors our students' English proficiency, how they're growing in the English language from year to year in the areas of listening, reading, writing, and speaking. This test is an adaptive assessment, much like the iReady, meaning that it becomes more challenging or less challenging depending on how the student does. Listening and the reading are multiple choice, while writing and the speaking are very open-ended tasks. The Access Online test is also developed in clusters, so you can see grade 1 stands by itself, but the others are grouped together in different clusters. Regarding the order of when tests should be given, the first test that should be given, it should be the listening and the reading test. This is because once the students complete these two tests, it tiers the students, and then it tells the teacher which writing and speaking tests they should take based on their listening and reading assessment. It's really important that these tests are done in this order. We plan for about an hour test for each of these domains, and every student will have to take all 4 domains. So that's 4 hours for each student during this testing window. All grades can test together for listening and for reading. Listening and reading should not have more than 15 students. For speaking and listening, for speaking, it should be about 5 students. So you can see for writing, it should be probably one of the last tests that they take. They can do it before speaking, but it's preferred to be the last one. It should also be about 60 to 90 minutes. It is not a timed test, but we want the students to do their best. Spelling doesn't count against the students, but the scorers do need to be able to make out what the student is saying. For grades 1 through 3, students will respond to the prompts in a writing test booklet and not a computer. While grades in 4 through 12, some of them may do it handwriting, while some of them will use a keyboard. So each ML teacher was asked how they wanted their students to take this test, and the ones who said that they wanted the handwriting, we ordered those materials for them. Now, as for accommodations, our accommodations are a little bit different because we are assessing English language proficiency. So they will not have some of the accommodations that they would get on SC Ready or SC Lead. So for example, you cannot read aloud any of the items on the reading test, and you can't translate any of the items to any language other than English. You can't explain the content in any other language than English, and you can't translate the student answers in any other language than English. And students they cannot use a bilingual word-to-word dictionary. Some considerations that we need to have is we would like for them to have a quiet space. We need to make sure that devices are working properly ahead of time, making sure that the DRC app is up and updated. Stations and desks need to be spaced appropriately. The teachers need to have a do not disturb sign outside the door, need to have a clock in the room, a secure location for testing tickets and materials, pencils if the students are taking the writing test, ensure that the teachers know that the access window when it starts and when it ends, and that students may have to be pulled out of irregular times in order to take this test, and to please have patience and have some understanding while we get this tedious test completed. and make sure that there's no cell phones, smartwatches, or Bluetooth devices allowed. We had 2 issues last year with plagiarisms due to phones. So who counts towards the rating? So you need to have at least 20 ML students identified in K-12. If you have students who are monitored, that means that they've exited the program. They include towards your denominator as a pass. Students enrolled on the 45th day to the 160th day will count towards, as long as they have no break in the enrollment either at the school, at the district level, or in the state. And students who have 1 year or less enrolled in school, they do not count, but they do take the test so we can get a proficiency rating for them so then they can start their goals. So what does it mean to be proficient or to exit? That means you have a 4.4 composite score with a 4.0 sub score. And I'm going to show you what this means because it's a little confusing this way. Okay, so what does it mean for you as a principal? Well, first you need to identify and know your students, make sure that you're speaking with your testing coordinator and that they do not miss any students. You can use that MLP report in Data Central that I have shown many of you how to use to make sure you have an accurate list, and you can check that against Elevation. Also know your student goals. Many of our ML teachers have been trained on goal setting, and we provided them with goal sheets to complete with the students this month. And create a system for monitoring progress, although we will be sending you weekly updates to let you know on Fridays how far you've gotten and how far you need to go to complete testing. So what does growth look like? So for every student, it's a little bit different. Every ML student who enrolls in the US and completes a home language survey saying that they speak a language other than English will receive a screener by their ML teacher. So let's say you have a student who receives a 1, that means they have no previous English experience, and their goal for their first year in the country is a 1.9. Then you can see that every year it increases until they meet the 4.4 at year 5. So one of the misconceptions that we've been having to talk to teachers about, especially in the middle school and the high school level, a lot of the kids think that they only have 1 or 2 years to exit this test instead of the whole 5 years. So that's why we're implementing the goal setting sheets this year to make sure that the students know what their goal is for that year. We had a lot of frustrated students because they didn't know they had the 5 years to meet this goal. So let's look at an example. Just so you know, every ML student in South Carolina has 5 years to be proficient. Once they complete that and they exit within the 5 years, then we have to monitor them for 4 more years. So that means that they're considered an ML student for 9 years. So you can see our example here. We have a student who enrolled in kindergarten. In 5th grade, she exited the program. And then now when she's in 9th grade, if everything goes well, she was monitored for 4 years and now she's completely out of the program. So let's look at a typical test result so you can see what it kind of looks like. As you can see, you have the 4 domains, so listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Then you have the oral language score, literacy, comprehension, but then the overall. So you can see that the reading and the writing is going to be, the reading and the Yes, the reading and the writing accounts for 70% of the composite score, while the listening and the speaking only accounts for 30% of the score. So even though the student has a 4.7 composite score and they only need a 4.4, they do not exit because they did not get a 4.0 in the speaking or in the writing. So how are rating points earned? So for example, let's take a look at this model elementary school. As you can see there on the chart on the very bottom, there's 131 ML students on this campus, but only 98 qualified to account towards accountability. And you can see that 45 out of those 98 met their progress toward proficiency target. So that gives the school a score of 45.9. You move the decimal, it becomes 4.5. That gives the school an average rating, and it gives it 4.5 points towards their accountability overall rating. Here's a high school example. As you can see, this school has 114 total students, but 103 count towards accountability. 60 out of those 103 met their progress toward proficiency. That gave the school a 58.3 passing rate. That also puts them at an average growth. So they got 5.8 points towards their whole report card accountability. So advocacy and communication, we ask that if you can find ways or come up with a system to celebrate the student who met their goals or exited the program, that you use the data once we get it next school year in your PLC and review it with your teachers. We want also for you to remind your teachers that it takes 1 to 3 years to learn social language and 5 to 7 to learn academic language. So to be patient, this is not going to happen in 1 or 2 years unless a student has already received English in their home country. You can also send a call out to your ML parents, letting them know about the test and how to support their students to be successful. The typical things that we do for testing, getting a good night's sleep, eating, getting to school on time, etc. I have provided a link here for you to take a practice test, a reading one, so you can see exactly what a sample is like. I will provide this presentation along with the video. So if you have some time or you want to have some fun taking this test so you can see what it's like, you can. And if you have any questions, of course, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can always go to our portal page and book a team member. Jamie Cook is our secondary instructional specialist. Fred Please is your elementary, or you can always contact me and we'll be more than happy to help you with anything that you need. I hope that you enjoyed this video and it gave you some quick information what you need to prepare for this test at the end of this month.